Today on the newscast, the U.S. joins with a group of European nations to condemn Israel. Get all the breaking details from Jerusalem next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast and welcome to Jerusalem. Night has fallen here in God's holy city. I arrived this morning and folks, we got right to work. We're here all week for a Watchman production, getting new material for the Watchman Newscast and the Watchman TV show on TBN. We began the trip today. I'm a little bit jet lagged still, but had a lot of adrenaline as we began our trip at the Tower of David in the shadow of the old city of Jerusalem and the shadow of the Temple Mount with our good friend, the one and only Danny the Digger Herman. So that was a great historical archaeology show, the Tower of David, not to be confused with one of our other favorite places in Jerusalem, the city of David. The Tower of David, one of the iconic sites in the Jerusalem skyline. I mean, it is just a crossroads of the history of Israel, beginning in the First Temple period up into today. An incredible show, and perhaps even the trial of Jesus took place at the Tower of David. I don't want to give too much away. That will be coming up soon on the Watchman. You will want to keep it here over the next few weeks for fresh new content from this production trip on the Watchman Newscast and the Watchman TV show. And by the way, we'll be here in Jerusalem, but also Galilee, up north, and points beyond as we interview top Israeli national security experts on all the latest hot button issues: Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, Turkey, Russia. Also biblical history, archaeology, of course, and interviewing some top Israeli political figures as well, and digging into the Israeli innovation, the high-tech sector too. So some good stuff coming up. Make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted right here on the Watchman News channel. Who knows, we may even end up surprising you and coming to you from Jerusalem like we are today. But that Palestinian terror wave, folks, that only got worse yesterday, Monday, February 13th. We had an Israeli border guard murdered, stabbed to death just outside of Jerusalem. And then we had a young Israeli man also attacked, stabbed in the old city of Jerusalem, which is just over my shoulder right now. Thankfully, he lived. He was not killed. If I'm not mistaken, both assailants were teenagers, Palestinian teenagers, folks. And it shows you the great effect, or the horrific effect, that Palestinian brainwashing machine has had on the young people here, whether it's their school textbooks, music, movies, TV. Young Palestinians here are brainwashed to murder Jews and that to believe that the state of Israel does not exist or should not exist and must be destroyed. I do not exaggerate. And folks, this isn't just Hamas propaganda. This is the kind of rhetoric coming out of the Palestinian Authority, of Mahmoud Abbas, who is supposedly Israel's partner for peace, according to the West, and yet he is among the other Palestinian Authority leaders who praise deadly terror attacks against Israelis. Speaking of the Palestinian Authority, you would think that would be a perfect time, as this terror wave is in full swing, that it would be a perfect time for the U.S. and other Western nations, which are ostensibly Israel's allies, to come together and rally support for Israel in the face of this terror wave. After all, Israel's enemies and America's enemies are one in the same. Yet we had quite the opposite today, folks, quite an opposite response. Now, Israel has responded to this terror wave by announcing, guess what? You want to erase us from our ancestral land? Here's how we'll respond. We are going to further expand our presence in the land of Israel, our ancestral homeland, including in Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland. Now, much of the world calls it the West Bank. Here on the Watchman, we call it Judea and Samaria because that's what the Bible calls it. So Israel announced yesterday that they would build up to 10,000 homes in Judea and Samaria. And folks, I got to say, there wasn't a furious joint condemnation and response and a statement by Western powers, again, as I mentioned, to this terror wave, but man, did they get together. Israel announced it was building some homes in lands that Israelis, Jews lived in 3,000 years ago. And man, that was enough to set the U.S. off. The U.S., represented by the Biden administration in diplomatic forums like this, the U.S., Britain, France, Germany, and Italy released a joint statement condemning Israel, not mentioning the Palestinian terror wave, not mentioning the mass shooting outside the synagogue 2 weeks ago when 7 Israelis were slaughtered, not mentioning the car ramming, not mentioning yesterday's stabbings. No, solely condemning Israel as essentially a threat to regional and world peace because it dares to build some homes in a land where its people lived 3,000 years ago. And that's what it boils down to. A State Department spokesman, Ned Price, said, we're not happy about this, we condemn it. But at the end of the day, Israel is a sovereign nation and it's going to do what it's going to do. Yeah, that's right. Israel is a sovereign nation. And Israel needs to, whether it's the Palestinian issue, whether it's Judea Samaria, whether it's its judiciary system, the whole world, when things happen here in Israel, specifically here in Jerusalem, just feels compelled to chime in and pile on. And that's what's happening again. And they never feel compelled, though, to chime in and kind of band together and support Israel in the face of terror. But man, oh man, if in their view, Israel steps out of line, you'll hear the condemnation right away. So pretty interesting how that double standard works. Not interesting, I should say, completely troubling and disturbing. But folks, that's a situation we are dealing with. And as I wrap up from here in Jerusalem, we'll keep a very close eye on this increased international pressure and the condemnations of Israel. As I'm here in Jerusalem right now, I'm looking out at the city. I think of the words of the prophet Zechariah, or the God of Israel speaking through the prophet Zechariah, who said that this city, the city I'm standing in right now, the city of Jerusalem, will become like a burdensome stone, a cup of trembling, and anyone who comes against it will be cut to pieces. We are seeing the prophetic chess pieces moving on the board right now. Everyone wants a piece of Jerusalem. They covet the Temple Mount. Folks, fasten your seatbelts. It is going to be a very interesting 2023. And again, no coincidence that more and more the nations of the world are piling on Israel and banding together against Israel. This condemnation today, to me, was shameful by Western powers when there was radio silence in the midst, where there is radio silence in the midst of a terror wave. Hey, stay tuned all this week here on The Watchman. Pray for us as we're here in Jerusalem. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And we will see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us from God's holy city. Until tomorrow, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.